Still can go back and see which one of his books he translated. I mean, you still can go back and see which how older books that were maybe translated in from Ethiopian or any other translations. You can find translations from China. And compared with English, you can find if you don't trust the so-called white man King James translation, you could go back and compare the translations to the Spanish or the Mexican, Puerto Rican, Haitian, Jamaican translations or whatever. Or you can compare it to, like I said, some of the African translations. You don't think that there's any black people that have translations of this book? You out your mind. You think every translation of this Bible was made by a white man? No. Here's an example. The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu from China. He had to have written that book in Chinese. But fortunately, over here in 2018, you can actually see and read this book in English. Does that mean that the Art of War by Sun Tzu is a white man's book simply because he translated it from Chinese, whether Mandarin or Cantonese Chinese, to English? No. All it means is that a white man translated a book. But the thing is, King James, again, was not white. But even if he was, all you got to do is cross-reference the translation with older translations to see how true it is. That's how. And the funny thing is, there are some white man translations books. King James is just not one of them. You look at your NIV. These are books translated by white people. American Standard Version. These are books translated by white people. And if you look at them, you can see, okay, yeah, this looks like a white man translated this. Another thing that would not be in this book is Leviticus 13 and a verse. I'm going to start verse 20. Wait. I'm going to start with verse 16, I believe. I'm going to start with verse 15. This is Leviticus 13 and 15. And the priest shall see the raw flesh, which is your skin, and pronounce him to be unclean, for the raw flesh is unclean, it is leprosy. Matter of fact, I'm going to start with verse 9, Salakia. This is let's say leprosy. Leviticus 13 and 9. When the plague of leprosy is in a man, then he shall be brought unto the priest. Now, leprosy is when your skin is white. Skin turns, you're a black man, you start losing your pigmentation. We call it today vitiligo. When the plague of leprosy is in a man, when he shall be brought unto the priest, and the priest shall see him, and behold, if the rising be white, and the skin and it have turned the hair white, and there be quick raw flesh in the rising white flesh, it is an old leprosy in the skin of his flesh, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean, and shall not shut him up, for he is unclean. And if a leprosy break out abroad in the skin, and the leprosy cover all the skin of him that hath the plague from his head even to his foot, whithersoever the priest looketh, then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. It is all turned white, he is clean. But when the raw flesh appeareth in him, he shall be unclean. And the priest shall see the raw flesh, and pronounce him to be unclean, for the raw flesh is unclean, it is a leprosy. So leprosy is considered to be bad, to have white skin. I'll skip up a little bit more. Leviticus 13 and 30. Then the priest shall see the plague, and behold, if it be in sight deeper than the skin, and there be in it a yellow thin hair. A yellow thin hair is what you know today is blonde hair. Let's see if blonde hair is superior or inferior. If it be in deeper than the skin, and there be in it a yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a dry scale, even a leprosy unto the head or beard. So that is not good. If anything, he would say, if it was a white man's book, if you see a dark spot on somebody with, he's tightly coiled hair, then you shall pronounce him unclean. The Bible doesn't say black is a curse. Contrary to what they say about Ham being cursed, he's the father of all black people. That's not true. Ham is not the father of all black people. And secondly, Ham was not cursed. It was his son, Canaan, that was cursed. Ham had other children, such as the Egyptians. They would not have fell under the curse of Canaan. You had the Cushites. They would not have fallen under the curse of Canaan. This is misconceptions that's brought to you forth by, a lot of times, this is started by black people too, which I can only assume that maybe they had been influenced by white Masons that started some of this shit. But anybody that reads this Bible, like how Nat Turner read the Bible, how Gabriel Prosser read the Bible, how Dan Marvezi read the Bible, there's no way you're going to come to the conclusion that this Bible is a white man's book. Another more, and we're going to also get into Yahweh Shai, which I mentioned earlier was the third one. This is Genesis chapter 25. And verse 25. And it reads, just 25 and 25. 25 and verse 21, Salakia. And Isaac entreated Yahweh for his wife because she was barren, and Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? So these are twins that Rebekah is about to give birth to. And she went to inquire of Yahweh, and Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elders shall serve the younger. One people going to be stronger than the other. So that goes to show not all people are equal. You have races that are superior, some races that are inferior. And one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So the Bible says the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. If you look at the so-called white man, his skin is so white you can see the redness in him. If he gets hit, he turns red. If he stays in the sun too long, he turns red. If he gets embarrassed, he gets red. He gets angry, he gets red. You can sometimes even see his little red, rosy little cheeks. And they call them rednecks down south. Because why? That sun beats on them, and you can see how red their blood vessels show forth through their skin. So the so-called white man, he's actually really red. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And they said he's hairy. The so-called white man, if you look at some of the old pictures of them showing them being cavemen, they was hairy as hell. You know, when they showed him with the billy club, dragging, his white woman by the hair, taking her into the cave, he was hairy all the way, from the hair on his chest, hair on his back, all over. So this is your first white man right here. And it said his name was called Esau. And now, let's find out how God feels about this so-called white man named Esau. This is Romans 9 and 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. God said he hates Esau, the white, red guy that's all hairy. But Jacob, his twin, he loved. So literally the concept of the evil twin comes from the Bible, Jacob and both Esau.